Hi, class. Boy, has it been an interesting day for us. I have been without a computer all day, which really throws me in a tizzy. And I'm back up, but I'm considered myself hobbling right now. I have one monitor. I usually use 3 monitors, and I'm very used to that, having access to all kind of visual information while I am working on a single project. So bear with me while I make every attempt to get you what you need for this mini lecture part. So we're talking about organization and time management this week. And it really is important. It's something I still, at 52, try to work on. Some weeks I'm better at it than others. Some of the things that, and some of this will be on this little mini post-test we're having on time management this week. So you may want to take some notes. Pardon me. I'll try to keep this quick, but I don't want you to freak out about the post-test. It's a 5-question, 5-point test. So it's not an exam. It's not a big 100-point thing. Pardon me. I'm very sleepy. I'm not sleeping good right now. But I'm going to get this together and we're going to get through this. So getting organized. Create a clean study space. Having that helps improve your concentration, helps you quickly find what you need. And you have to choose whatever method works for you. So if you're fortunate enough to have a desk or an area where you always study in a consistent space, you can keep that organized. If you're more like me at my home, I do my studying on my dining room table, so I have to pack it up kind of and move it each time based on what I'm doing. Get my laptop out and all that kind of stuff. So you can make it work for you. If you are using a multi-purpose space, they recommend using totes or some sort of rolling cabinet to keep yourself organized. So give that a shot. I am a very, very big proponent of organizing your electronic documents. If you're an online student especially, you need to keep your electronic documents organized. Everything you turn in is going to be electronic. So thinking of and finding a way to consistently have your stuff saved so that you can always find it, and whatever method works for you is fine. You can use folders. You certainly can do it on your computer. I do recommend that you use some sort of either cloud-based system or have your backups on jump drives, the little flash drives you can buy at Walmart or wherever. I will caution you, those do fail. When I was working on my PhD work with UNO, I actually had everything on one drive. I thought they were so neat because they had gotten so big it would hold everything. And I was smart. I actually backed one up. So I copied it and had 2 copies of it. I'm like, I'm good. I don't know if it was the humidity in my house or what happened, but both of those drives failed in the same semester. So it can happen. So I'm just saying, be careful. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Labeling and color coding labeling has more to do with how you name things. I am a very big proponent of color coding because I'm a very visual learner. When I use Excel spreadsheets, I color code the data. I have columns. I have all kinds of things with different shadings and patterns. It used to drive the guy that I worked with in financial aid crazy because he was actually colorblind, so he was not able to distinguish the colors I was using. So be aware, what works for you may not work for somebody else, and so be careful that you're attributing those uses and designations for you only, and don't assume that it will work for everyone else. Always back your files up. I mentioned the flash drives. One of the tricks that I've learned is if it's something that's really important to me, I email it to myself because I know that our email system is backed up every night, and that I can get back to it through my sent items in my email if I need to. So that's really good. You do want to keep folders on your computer. You may want to have one folder for each course, but you can have folders inside of folders. And there was a reference in your textbook about having exams and projects and papers in each course folder. You may not need that for every folder, for every class. In this class, we're not doing exams. We're doing these little post-tests, but we're not doing big exams. In some courses, you won't have any papers. You will only have exams. So you may want to look at your syllabus before you set that up for each class, but just make sure you have a way to do it. You want to be sure you name your files consistently and follow the instructions in your instructor's syllabus. Some instructors have a very specific naming format that they want you to use, and that helps the documents actually stay in an order on their computer so they can grade them promptly. So you do want to follow that. My recommendation for your file name is always include the course, include some reference to which assignment it is, and your name in the name of the document. Keep in mind, our faculty often have 120 to 150 students across their different classes. Some have many more than that. And you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find your assignment and grade it, rather than hunting for it for 20 minutes and then being frustrated when they start to grade your assignment. So give them that little bit of extra help by naming it in a way that helps them stay on target, and you'll find that it actually helps you and your instructor. You can use hyphens in file names or the underscore. The computer is usually going to alphabetize documents by file name. That's one of the options you have. You can sort on that column. And underscore will move something to the top. So often if I'm working on a project and I'm not done with it yet, I'll put an underscore in front of the file name so it comes to the top of my list. And then once I'm done with it, I'll actually remove that underscore, rename it as a different file, so that it falls more in the alphabetical listing. That's just a suggestion. Be sure to recognize or remember you cannot use commas in file names. Commas are actually designations. You can't use punctuation in general, although I think they have finally made it where you can put periods, but it's not recommended. Some operating systems use that period designation to attribute a file format to tell the computer what software program to use to open it. So if you have extra characters after the period, it may sometimes make the document unable to be opened. Again, I'm going to say this a lot, always back up your assignments. Always have a backup copy. Email it to yourself if you need to do that, so that you can have that and make sure, because it will actually date it, and that helps you if something happens and the file's not readable when you submit it on Moodle or email it to your instructor. So moving on to the time management part, there's actually 4 steps for effective time management that your book talks about. The first one is tracking your time. The second one is identifying your priorities. Then you build your schedule, and then you use tools to track your progress. And we are going to talk about your planners that you were sent in the mail. And at the end of this 7-week class, you're actually going to turn in just the monthly pages. We talked about this in the video with Noah and I. Just the monthly pages for August, September, October, and November, or September, October, November, December. We have to do 4 months, even though the class doesn't quite last that long, but we need to do 4 months to make sure everybody has a good handle on it. We'd like for you to have those on those monthly pages, even if that's not the planner you use going forward forever. But if you would help us out with that, that would be terrific. So one of the things that they suggest, and you can use your weekly, daily pages to do this in your planner if you want, for 1 week, record your daily activities and how long each one takes. Everything that you can think of that you've done. And try to make your time consistent. Try to make them back to back or look for gaps. The first thing you should ask yourself at the end of the week when you're kind of reviewing this is, what activities are taking up most of my time? Am I spending too much time on unproductive or distracting activities? Those may be different things for different people. If you're a single parent, taking care of your kids is pretty high on your list, and there may be times you need to play with them or have them prepare their meals and take care of them, and that may not be on someone else's list. So your schedule is going to be very, very individual. The other thing you want to look at is, what time of the day, when are you most productive and when are you least productive? And you want to try to schedule your study time during that most productive part of your day, when you're getting the most stuff done, when you're sort of on, when your brain is functioning at its highest level. So look at the patterns in your weekly plan and consider what it's telling you, and then draw conclusions about how you can best organize your time to study. Step 2 is actually identifying your priorities. Consider whether you're allocating enough time to the things that matter most. So you want to prioritize your commitments, and they have this little scale that they suggest you use. Again, this is just a suggestion. You can attribute any point value to it. You can put letters or stars or symbols, but having a way to identify what's most important to you actually helps you when you have a schedule or a planner, to-do list, those kinds of things. Knowing your priorities helps you make and uphold good choices. So once you kind of know your priorities and you've looked at how you've done, you want to build your schedule and find a scheduling method that works for you. So the things we're going to be looking for when we actually do the grading of the monthly planners, just for you to be thinking about, we want to see that you have scheduled class time. And I know you're all in online programs, so you don't have an actual course time that meets. But remember, it was recommended that you actually plan a certain time and place that you go to class, even if you're in an online class. And that's the dedicated time that you spend as if you were in a classroom going to that class. You want to also schedule study time. You want to have marked on there when your exams or assignments are due. What are those due dates? So they need to show up on your calendar. So in this class, for example, we had a paper due Sunday night. Thank you very much. All of you turned them in. I'm very proud of you. That's terrific. So I want to make sure you keep that kind of stuff up. So your syllabus actually has some due dates, or at least the weeks that your different projects are due. That's in your syllabus. You want to schedule work time. Obviously, if you work, you want to put that on your calendar, because usually you can't multitask and do schoolwork while you're at work, but it depends on where you work. You want to schedule family time. You want to look at school events. Are there certain things that you need to do? And we're about to start posting for you, or very soon we'll be kicking off basketball season, and I actually have a scorekeeper for basketball, and if any of you enjoy basketball, I would love to see you at a game. And I keep score for both the men and women when they play at home, so when they're here on campus. You want to schedule exercise and or leisure time. It's perfectly fine to schedule TV time or whatever, or reading time, or whatever it is that helps you relax and kind of take care of yourself. And the last thing is you want to schedule in some rewards. You are going to model for your children. Many of you have said your children are kind of why you're doing this school thing, and you want to model good behavior for them. So you want to reward yourself, not every time you turn in a paper, but when you do a big project or you meet a goal that you have set forth, having some sort of reward for yourself is actually good practice. Research shows it helps you stay motivated and move forward. So it may be a movie night with your kids on the couch, and it doesn't have to be renting a movie. It can be something that's on television, or it can be giving yourself time for that Calgon moment to have a bubble bath and get away from some of the other things you might be thinking about. Try to build in some flexibility with your schedule. If you jam-pack your day from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night and there's no breaks, when you have a day like I've had today, it will completely unravel you when something unexpected comes up. So it's good to build in some flexibility time if you can. And then they suggest you use tools to track progress on your projects. And some of you have actually mentioned some of these in your forum post already. But you want to estimate how much time it's going to take to complete each step of the project. Use deadlines to hold yourself accountable, and cross off tasks for a feeling of accomplishment. And some of you, as I mentioned, have said that. So this might be an example of a project for a paper. And then you want to they actually listed a goal: demonstrate new knowledge of Greek architecture through written work. And then the action steps they were going to do and how long it was going to take and when they were going to do it by. And the big thing is you get to actually mark it when it's done. You can either put an X in the box or you can actually draw a line through it. The to-do list is the task you want to do each day. And these are the ones I think that they've crossed off. So each night before you go to bed or when you first wake up in the morning, you set up your to-do list, and then you can cross off things. Here's where they have the cross-offs. And that's a good feeling to be able to check off or cross off some of the things on your to-do list. Because we're in online classes, I want to focus on this just a little bit. Because they're less structured, it's really important to remember that they take as much time as an in-person class. And so one of the rules they say about studying and scheduling your study time is for every hour you're in the classroom, and for online students, that's for every credit hour of the course that you're getting. So this is a 3 credit hour course. You should plan that much time, but you should also plan 2 hours out of class for study time. So students on campus that are taking 4 classes, that's 12 hours, because 4 times 3 is 12. Most of them are 3 credit hours. They should actually be they'll spend the 12 hours in the classroom each week for each of the classes, but they should also spend 24 hours outside the classroom. And I'll warn you, there's a question like this on our post-test. The question is actually for on-campus students. It's a little bit different for online students, and when I teach this class in the future, I'm going to actually change it so that it's clear whether it's online or not. So you all are technically expected to spend 3 hours a week as if you were sitting in a classroom with your stuff, and then 6 hours studying, working on your homework, doing your readings, doing some extra stuff. So for every 3 credit hour online course, we say you should plan 10 to 12 hours per week per course is kind of the ballpark that we're giving people. It doesn't take everybody all that time for every class. It depends on what the content is and how the class is structured. You do want to devote time each and every week to work on your assignments. You want to log into your online class. This says every day. I would say at a minimum 3 times a week. And you can see that in the way that I have the assignment structured. But if you can log in every day and you can go ahead and read the forum posts that your classmates are making, it certainly helps with that anxiety. When I log in and it says 40 unread messages, I get kind of nervous and it feels overwhelming. So if you log in every day, you can keep those numbers down and help it be a little more manageable. Be sure you know your deadlines. And where do you get your deadlines? You get them usually from your syllabus. You may get them from announcements from your teacher. And if you need to, schedule time for live meetings hosted by your instructor. We're going to do those this week. Some of you will do Wednesday evening and some of you will do Thursday morning. And you can do both if you want to, but you only have to do one. And then they have some tips for beating procrastination. This is something that would have benefited me greatly today. Had I done this weekend when I had hoped to, I wouldn't have been in a tizzy all day trying to get a computer up that had video on it. But procrastinating is delaying or putting off an action that needs to be completed. You can fight low motivation by thinking about why you're doing it, and several of you were so good about mentioning that in your forum about what motivates you and how you're going to stay motivated to get through your programs, and I was just so impressed with the comments that you had. Sometimes you just have to get started. Just pick a task and get started, especially if it's some huge project. Sometimes we sort of paralyze ourselves by thinking about all the steps at once, and if you can just start with one, it's a good way to get started. And sometimes getting up and moving around is a good way to get yourself more motivated to do it. Perfectionism is something that causes people time management problems in some cases because they don't want to turn it in if it's not perfect, and they begin to get discouraged because they didn't feel like it was perfect, and so they begin to stop doing it. So again, starting small, frame your expectations in a way that are reasonable, and don't base your self-worth or your worth as a student on a single comment or a comment from a single instructor. You're going to run into people that have different styles and different ways of providing feedback for classes. And so do your best and make sure you're starting small. Do you have reasonable expectations that you're doing your best? And then just keep moving forward. Be realistic. And I thought this was funny in the book. They talked about tricking yourself to say if you just don't like to read, and that's true of a couple of us. If you don't like to read, you can say, okay, I'm just going to read for 10 minutes. I'm just going to turn everything off and read for 10 minutes. And you may actually find that you're 20 to 30 minutes into it before you realize that the time has passed. So it's good sometimes to try that. They talk about minimizing distractions by finding study groups or trying to find times when people around you are studying. Study with your kids. Have them do homework at the same time you are. Be sure you're using the off switch. We are so bad as a society now about constantly checking our phones, constantly checking Snapchat or Facebook or email or whatever social media site you're on. You can schedule time each hour or every couple of hours to do that so that it doesn't weigh on you and you aren't worried about it. But for me, if I don't turn it completely off and I hear it vibrating, it's such a distraction that I can't get my work done. So you want to actually turn it off. And then think about other ways to block distractions based on what kind of learner you are. So you may need to use earplugs, or you may need to close the curtains. So it's whatever works for you. So hope that was a overview of the time management part. We are meeting Wednesday, and the time is in the announcement. I don't remember right now. I think it's 5:30 on Wednesday, and you're going to log into Zoom and see me just like you see me right now. But we'll be able to all see each other if you have webcam. So I hope you'll give that a shot. If you don't have a webcam, I ask that you do still log in on your computer, but you will have to use a telephone to call in to be able to hear the audio if you don't have a mechanism to do that. If you don't have the webcam with audio for your video connection. So I hope that helps. Send me an email if you have any questions or post it in the mud pit. And again, I'm so excited about your papers, and I will be providing feedback to you over the next couple of days for that. So keep on keeping on. Keep up the good work, guys.